anticipation. So through the process, I know I have talked to all of you, and I've met all of you and most of you on quite a few occasions. But then you would also know that it has taken us some time to get to this point where we are today. So thanks also for your patience and your steadfast belief in the project and the fact that we would be able to actually arrive at this day. I find that very exciting. So welcome to sort of a fairly short kickoff. We wanted to meet you all, and we wanted to celebrate that we are actually launching the project, and we wanted to give you all an opportunity to see the sort of magnitude and the scale of the project that we actually have. That you are part of a really global project. And we wanted also to give you all an opportunity to raise questions or anything that you felt that we haven't thought of. And then we've invited the financial sector advisors who will support our work and support your work to introduce themselves as part of this. And we've asked two very clever people from our network to inspire us. Shomit Ghosh from Silicon Valley. Who has basically the person who sort of introduced me to the risks and the opportunities of the data economy, and Swapna Manikar from Royal Bank of Canada, who will join us a little bit later, and who was actually part of sort of my inspiration for this with a piece she wrote on Medium a few years back on some of the ethical challenges of using technology in the financial sector. And will give us all then towards the end of the session here an opportunity to meet in the teams that you've been assigned to, and so we'll spread out into a team room session and have just 20 minutes for you to meet the people you work with in the teams and to introduce yourselves in that. And then we know that all is not done. Also, sort of on a more practical sort of point of view, that I'm sure that there'll be some pushback and some comments on teams and further questions on how to proceed, and we're of course quite ready for that. We expect that the next sort of 2 weeks will be sort of the phase where we will get organized and get ready to go in a shared discussion. So. But welcome. We are a wonderfully diverse group of just about 70 advanced level students from 25 countries, really all over the world. On the call and on the project, we have people from China, Hong Kong, Japan, India, Singapore, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, Italy, France, Spain, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Poland, Denmark, Norway, the UK, Turkey, Brazil, Chile, Mexico, the US, and Canada, which is really unique. There are quite a few projects working in this field today. I think actually we are the only one that sort of has that scale and magnitude, and we'll definitely seek to put that to use, because it gives us an insight also in related issues such as some of the different approaches we may have to some of these questions. But of course, it gives us a quite unique diversity of minds. You are from different countries. You're also from different faculties. Some of you are majors in engineering, some in philosophy, some in psychology, some in business, some in law. So there's a very sort of strong diversity also on that level, and I look forward to experiencing how that will work. And we're supported by also an international group of financial sector institutions and companies: Visa, HSBC, Safaricom, DBS, Nykredit, Danske Bank, AXA, Generali, Maif, Spanor, Santander, Polska, Mercado Libre, and I think I did mention Safari and RBC from Canada. I hope I didn't miss any, and then I apologize. And you are all representing a number of universities, TUM in Munich, Aalborg University in Denmark. There's the Université Catholique in Lille, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Strathmore in Nairobi, WITS in South Africa, NTU, Singapore, Lagos Business School, Chile, at the University of Chile, Tec de Monterrey, and the Sorbonne University and the University of Pavia. And again, I'm sure I missed one or two, and I do apologize for that. And then a number of companies and organizations, IBM, first of all, Digital India, Copenhagen FinTech, and an organization such as the Danish Financial Services Trade Union. So also quite a diverse and large group of people supporting the project. So it is a unique project in its alone in its global and diverse nature. We've all discussed this, and I know you're tuned into it in the conversations that we've had, so the why and why we are doing it seems obvious at this stage. We need to use data, and we know that data and algorithmic tools and technology in general will help us solve problems and make better products as we go forward. COVID has shown us the importance of data. We know that if we're to solve the climate problems, it's the same thing. And then we all have these sort of personal things. My brother has sclerosis, and certainly if we're to find a cure for that, data is the obvious thing. And banking and insurance has always based itself on the use of data. But we know it also has, and we are also reminded about that daily, that this also has pitfalls and challenges and risks. Bias is well known. We are more and more hearing terms such as dark patterns, and we know that even when we try to do good with data, such as reach out or make solutions for marginalized groups or people at risk, when we use data to do that, we are risking infringing privacy. So whatever direction we look at when we use data and when we use technology, we know that there's a very concrete risk. And we also know that this is really very much about culture and about training and about understanding those risks. And that's really what we are about. That is the core of our project. And I think that is really an important and worthwhile ambition, to be able to shed light or contribute in improving the understanding of some of those risks. And I think exactly the diverse nature of our group is a perfect frame and setting to do that. So what do we hope from all of you now? Well, obviously the first challenge is to get organized and to get working on research plans, because we expect that you will define that, and that you will over the coming weeks prepare the actual plans for your work. You're well supported. We have the advisors from the financial sector. You'll meet some of them in just about 15 minutes, and most of them are on the call, and they are ready to support you with input and inspiration, and to help you with the framing of the challenges, and also gain insight into some of the concrete business operations and some of the concrete challenges that banks and insurance companies are looking at today. So a very big thank you for sharing your time to all of the advisors, and for opening the doors to your institutions and helping us gain the insight into the actual challenges that we need. You'll also be supported by a group of very bright research assistants from California. You have seen mails from Annie Swak, Spencer Kova, and Judy Fan, Kayana Busari, Alex Hartford, Maxwell Kent, and Andrew Tyler Pereira, and they are ready to assist the work in the actual teams. So they'll help you set up They'll help you manage work as we go forward, help sort of populate and establish the Microsoft Teams room, help invite for meetings as we set up, and help ensure that we document both the process and the actual outcome of our work in that. They'll also take part in the work and be on an equal footing members of all the teams that we are working in. So they really have a double task. Thank you also very much to you for stepping up and for being part of the project. That's extremely important, and we are grateful for that. You will receive over the coming weeks. You'll receive invitations for a number of team meetings, and the first challenge or the first chore that we'll ask you to do will be exactly to participate in framing and making the plan of work for the team that you have been assigned to. We've tried to accommodate all wishes on the teams, and hope that works. Some have expressed an interest in being in more teams, and if you think that's possible, we are definitely open to discuss it, and let's have a chat about that. If you want to support work in more teams, and if you have comments, just as if you have questions about how we work, and if you can see that as we move ahead, if you can see that you have exams, work, or whatever, please just raise your voice and let us know. But we expect that we'll take just a few weeks to get organized and get up and running with that. And then we have a plan, sort of fairly simple and fairly direct. We made a template, and the template is designed for the actual output of the work we do. And I think the template that I hope you've all had a look at should sort of guide sufficiently the work we will do. I mean, that is designed to contain the actual dilemmas, and also sufficiently describe what is sort of underlying and what drives the dilemma, and what might actually mitigate, or where a solution might be found in relation to that. But please document also wider as we go ahead, and please make sure to document. I mean, we are from, as mentioned, quite a few different faculties or lines of study. So I'm sure we all bring sort of different academic sort of traditions and ways of work, and we'll have to find our way of working with that. Especially, of course, as we are working across cultures and time zones as well. So please be proactive, and please raise your voice in that, and please make sure that we document both the outcome and the process. I mean, the more proactive and the more you are, and the more you reach out, the better the result. We all bring a lot to the table, so please make sure to share it. And then to add in also, just at this stage, we as I've said to all of you, we have a really unique basis here. I mean, a unique group of uniquely clever people, and that gives us an opportunity to be very ambitious in what we do, and we'll definitely support that. We'll make the collection or compilation of the templates that we'll describe. We'll bring them together in a white paper over the summer. We'll analyze it and look for trends and so forth. And we'll also seek to be ambitious in producing research papers. And I'm just putting this out now because I think we need to start that reflection early. So as we start working within the teams, and as we start working collectively together, I think we just have that sort of in the back of your head, and look for areas as part of our work where it would be relevant to produce research papers. I think we need to start that process early, and look for people with similar interests, or or others in perhaps teaming up and working on that. And then, as mentioned, we bring, and that's the entire. I mean, that's obviously the intention here of bringing together such an amazingly diverse group of people. We bring together cultural differences. We come from different settings and as mentioned, different universities. We have different backgrounds. That's an opportunity for many things, and it's also an opportunity to look just a little bit at where we might differ actually in some of our approaches to some of the dilemmas that we'll look at. And I think that's an interesting thing also to try to consider. We've asked Kiana Busari, who's one of the research assistants, to try to track that. So I'm just mentioning that now so that you will not be surprised if you get a survey or a question where Kiana's reaching out about sort of a comment on this or that. I think it's not our primary research objective to sort of track that, but I think the diversity of our group and sort of the composition that we have provides us with a quite unique opportunity in trying to track some of those sort of culturally or some of those approaches which that might vary due to different cultural sort of approaches. And that's more or less it. We will. You should expect a number of calendar invitations, as mentioned, for the teamworks. We'll send you also invitations for a number of talks. We'll seek to inspire you by inviting inspiring people with insights into future of banking, future of insurance, issues such as bias and fairness, and regional issues. So how is fintech developing in Africa? What are the specificities of Asia, Latin America, and so forth? In what we at the moment plan to be 8 inspirational sessions, and you'll receive invitations also for those. And as mentioned, we'll try to distribute again sort of the pain of the time zones between us. So they won't all happen at 7 o'clock in the morning in Silicon Valley. We'll try to make them accessible for all. And as mentioned, we will record them and make them available for you also after the actual event, in the event that you are prevented from participating. That's more or less what I had planned to say, sort of in terms of framing and the practical issues. I know that doesn't cover everything. I think we've tried to think of most, and as mentioned, I think we actually have quite a good plan. But you know how it is with plans and reality; they often conflict. So I'm sure we haven't thought of all. And I'm sure we'll be wiser along the road or the way. So please again raise your voice and please just if you feel you don't receive an invitation for something that you had expected, or if you get an idea for something we might do better, please push it, or please bring it up and raise it. You can raise it with me, but you can also raise it with the research assistants working with your team, or with Annie or some of the other people that we are working with. So I think it's we can't introduce all that are on the call, and I would love to, and I look forward to the day when people can actually meet again. But I think it's important that you get to meet Annie. So Annie, would you just briefly introduce yourself, Annie Spock?
Hi everyone, my name is Annie Zborg, and I am like the general project manager for this, and my interests are part of like the law aspect of this. I plan law school. Very happy this. different to me or to Soren.
I lost some of the voice, but I hope you got a chance. If you didn't hear, Annie is overall research assistant and working with me. So an opportunity to reach out for anything. And then please use again I can see that you all have and I'm thank you for the comments, you know, please raise questions there. That's the best way of reaching out. So I'd like you to meet then the people on the call and in the teams from some of the banks and insurance companies we are working with. There's a wider group of companies, banks, and insurance companies part of the project, and some of them have simply expressed their readiness to talk along the project and allow you to interview people from their organizations. And then there's a smaller group that have promised to share more of their time and their insights and help facilitate and support the work in the 5 teams that we're working in: insurance, payments, credit, climate, and customer management operations. So I very happily and gratefully introduce from AXA in Paris, Chauki Boutarit and Alessandro Bonaita from Generali in Milan. If you would introduce yourselves and your companies and a little bit the team and the content for the work ahead. Thank you for being on the call.
Sure, I can start. Yeah. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm Chauki Boutarit, so I represent my company AXA, but you can see the logo over here. So AXA is one of the largest global financial, insurance company. We are present in over 50 countries with over also 100,000 clients, and I belong to the corporate, basically the corporate group, the group corporate. So I'm based in Paris, as we're a French company. But also getting international, and I'm especially working on AI governance and all the challenges related to the use of AI technology in the insurance sector. So I belong to a research team, the research team of AXA. We're not Google, we're not Microsoft, but we have a strong team of 20 people, mostly people who have PhDs or doing PhDs, working on fairness, interoperability, transparency topics, all linked to the use of machine learning and other AI techniques for the development of a business. So we are engaging in a large transformation strategy since a couple of years, and we have been invested a lot into this topic. We also work closely with academics. So my team is working closely with Sorbonne University, with Stanford, with the Codex Law team. We also have partnership in Singapore, in Switzerland. So we basically try to leverage as much as possible, fundamental and applied research. So we get used to work with academics, with students. So it's also a pleasure to be back with you in this kind of format, and also share as much as we can with you and also learn from you. Concretely, the use of AI in the insurance sector is gaining more and more traction for my colleagues from the business, but also more and more traction for regulators and for external stakeholders. So basically, we really want to deep dive with you on what are the ethical dilemmas in the insurance sector, making sure that what we leverage as technology on machine learning, on NLP, OCR, computer vision is done in the right way, but also is not basically in opposition to what is insurance. Insurance is about risk pooling, is about protecting risk, is about also making sure that we don't discriminate people compared to premiums that we can provide to a customer. So the customer relationship is very important, and this is something where we really want to invest, and I believe that the project will be working with all of you, might be at least in the insurance stream instrumental in deep diving and understanding what are the tension, when we develop such products based on AI technology. Happy to be here with you. Thank you, Soren, for being part also and conducting me on that. And leave the floor to my colleague from Generali, Alessandro.
Thank you. I'm Alessandro Bonaita. I'm a group head of data science in Generali. Generali is an Italian-based company, but with a multinational footprint. We are present in about 60 countries all over the world. And we are essentially an insurance, but also investment company. We are here today because we started some years ago a journey towards the adoption of analytics and artificial intelligence in our group with a clear strategy that developed the adoption of AI in most of our countries, and we have reached a level of maturity that in this moment is leading us to a general reflection about the ethical usage of AI, in particular in insurance. We are starting this reflection, and the opportunity that Soren gave us, it's absolutely in line with our strategic priorities for this year and for the years to come. Together with me, there will be two of my colleagues that will support me in this activity, and I want to make them present themselves. Please, Gloria.
Hi everyone. I'm Gloria. I'm in Alessandro team. I'm a data scientist, so I'm very technical by background. I have a PhD in mathematics, but given now that it's 8 years I've been working for Generali, I also gained some business expertise. I've been working mainly in the fraud detection area, that is a very important field for AI application in insurance. And in the last year, I focused also a lot on computer vision that can be transversal to different business areas. And also in this case, I think there are many interesting implications on the ethical aspect. So very glad to join Alessandro within this big project, and hopefully to get input also from all the people. I think that the diversity of background and cultures is really something that will enrich us.
Thank you, Gloria. And also Daniel Sbarra.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel. As Alessandro said, I'm part of Analytics Solutions Center. I'm part of Generali Group since 2010, so it's 11 years now. Before moving to analytics part, I'm working also in claims and financial area of Generali. I'm now part of what we call analytics business partner. So I'm the bridge between the business and data science team, trying to transform some business need into some actual projects in analytics in AI space, and trying also to monitor what is going on into Generali Group, into the insurance value chain, and not only insurance value chain. Very happy to be here, and I agree totally with Gloria about diversity and about our skills and our background.
Thank you, Daniel. Just to complete, we are absolutely available to support all the students of the insurance team, but also students from other teams that could be interested in deep diving some specific topics that could be related to insurance. Thank you, Soren.
Thank you, and again, thank you for joining and for sharing your insights. That's key to the work we'll do. So the insurance group will be supported by Judy Fan from as a research assistant, and so Judy will be also go to and support as we develop. We're also working with Maeve, by the way, who will have a few also concrete cases to present as we proceed here. So that's the insurance team. and looking forward to discussing those issues in the coming months. Are you ready, Nirmal, to introduce Visa? And did Jessica join the call? I know you want to show a video, Nirmal.
Yeah, so I can start. Jesse is not going to be able to make this call because of something urgent came up, but I can take the introduction to Visa and introduce myself a little bit. So hi everyone, it's great to see this such a diverse and global audience, and a group of people opportunity to work with a group of people. My name is Nirmal Baid. I am from Visa's Global Strategic Initiatives team. We're a small team that is focused on sort of more forward-looking issues and opportunities for Visa. And some of the areas that we are focused on are related to open data, AI, data collaboration, consumer data permissioning, and just sort of broad area of data privacy. I've been with Visa for 11 years. And one thing I have to say, though, is that Visa is one of the more misunderstood companies, even though our brand is so well known in terms of what we do. Usually people associate Visa with this. I think a lot of you carry the cards, but we actually don't issue the cards ourselves. Actually, your bank issues the card, and 16,000 of these banks and financial institutions around the world, they're actually our clients. We operate in 200 countries and territories. I didn't even know that there were 200 countries. We have 3.5 billion cards worldwide in circulation, and we process in 1 year $11.8 trillion of payment volume on our network. So it's a pretty heavy duty operation. And when you swipe your card at a merchant location or you start your transaction online, in that 1 second that takes less than a second that it takes for us to return that transaction back to the merchant that, hey, everything is good. There's a lot that goes on in the background. And instead of me trying to describe that, I thought I'll show you a very short 90-second video. Hopefully will make the point. So let me see. We're going to test the technology to see if it's going to work. Soren, are you able to see the video?
Perfect. Yes.
1001, 1002, 1003. It only takes a second to do the simple things in life. Even making a special purchase for a daughter back home. A lot can happen in a second, and no one knows that better than Visa. Because less than 1 second is all it takes for VisaNet, our payment network, to process a single transaction. Like this one, on its way to the Visa data center in the UK, carrying a wealth of information protected by a digital payment token. Here, VisaNet de-tokenizes the transaction and detects that this shopper is a long way from home, Johannesburg, South Africa, which means a trip to the Visa data center connected to the issuing bank in Singapore. Here, Visa's advanced fraud detection system uses machine learning to instantly analyze historical and real-time data points to produce a risk score. In this case, the risk is low. VisaNet confirms our shopper is traveling, so currencies are converted, then it's off to the issuing bank in South Africa for approval. And now we go back the way we came, informing the UK data center that everything is on the up and up. And finally, back to the shop, all in less than a second. Hundreds of millions of times every day.
All right, so hopefully you got a good sense of what Visa actually does. We process, as I mentioned, millions of these transactions every day. And as you heard on the video, we use AI in all aspects of our operations. The most common one that you heard today was every single transaction that goes through Visa's network is scored for its propensity for fraud. So what that means is that every single transaction, when it hits Visa's network, before we send it to the issuing bank for approval, we attach a score to that transaction to say what is the likelihood that this transaction is fraudulent, and it keeps the ecosystem very safe and secure, and gives that peace of mind when you are using the card to make purchases. But there are a lot of other areas where we use AI too, which may not be very obvious. For example, when we do that $11.8 trillion worth of transactions that we settle every year, but we settle it on day-to-day basis. So the banks that are actually receiving the funds, we use AI to do the smart settlement of these transactions so that their treasury department can much more effectively forecast their cash flow. And there are so many more ways we use. For example, if let's say we cannot connect to the bank when you're swiping the transaction, your card at the merchant, then we use AI to automatically approve or decline that transaction on behalf of the issuer, because it cannot be reached, but the transaction has to be made. So as we use all of this technology and AI in the backdrop, I'm sure there are many, many ethical considerations that are related to this usage, and I look forward to exploring all of those with you as next few months unfold. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this project.
Well, thank you for joining. We are really grateful for that, and excited for the knowledge and insight you open up for and bring to the project. So thank you a lot for that. And there are also, there are a few additional banks who will support also this team, including Danske Bank from Denmark, and a few others who are ready to chip in with insights into this area. The next team that I'd like to introduce is credits and lending. And Jordan Isakidis from DBS in Singapore will drive efforts in this team. Jordan, are you with us?
Hi, Soren. Can you hear me okay?
I can, perfectly.
Sorry, the light, it's about 1 a.m. here, and the lighting is not too great. So I'm sorry if you can't see me very well. Thank you for having us. I'll be brief and just maybe share with you 2 or 3 things and flash something up on the screen. Just give me a moment. So just very briefly on who I am. So I'm an Australian lawyer working in Singapore. I work at a bank called DBS. This is the largest bank in Southeast Asia. And my role at the bank is to look at and approve all banking products across our 17 locations, across every department. And I also look at the different digital initiatives and partnerships we're entering into across product lines and a bunch of other stuff as well in the bank. In particular, I'm also the data ethics controller for the bank, where I look at, I've developed and operationalized and review products from a data ethical perspective. We have a lot of data from customers, from transaction data to GPS data to inference data about what a person might like or to be able to predict their behaviors. And we need a way of monitoring and scoring whether or not we're using that data in a respectful and responsible and ethical way. In this program, because of the nature of what we do as a bank, I'll be supporting you to look more on how we think about credit scoring. And credit scoring you might not be too familiar with what that is, but just very briefly to explain what that means in the context of where we operate is, I think Southeast Asia generally, you'll see consumers have a lot less access to financial services than their peers in more developed markets. I think about 70% of adults don't have access or have inadequate access to banking facilities. And one of the reasons why that's the case is some people don't have a physical address. You know, they sleep in a different place every night. So it's very hard to do KYC checks on people. And if you don't know the customer you're dealing with, you can't price for the risk. You don't know whether they're going to pay you back if you give them money, and you can't run a bank, which is at the end of the day a business. And in this particular region, we've discovered that people in these upcoming developing markets are more likely to share very personal digital data with us, so that we can do credit scoring based on behavior, and that starts to potentially infringe on privacy. And if we have that data and we're making inferences on our customers, it can also infringe on, or potentially lead to us unfairly discriminating against people, which is something that we obviously don't want to do. So we see this region as a melting pot of different cultures, of different perspectives on what's right or wrong, in terms of how we use personal data, what we can do with it. And we also see varying approaches from regulators around the region, and very, very advanced uses of technology that may not necessarily be acceptable in Western countries, and in some ways is a lot more advanced than what we're seeing rolled out in European or in Europe or the Americas or even Australia. So I think a very interesting region, and I look forward to exploring some of the ethical issues that we see around Southeast Asia with you.
Thank you, Jordan. Thanks so much. And I do apologize for the challenge of time zones, and so even more grateful for you sharing your time and insights at this horrible hour. As said, we'll try to work around the challenge of time zones, but our span is pretty wide. Thank you so much for this, and it's very obvious that Singapore has emerged as one of the areas in the world where both sort of the use of technology, but also thoughts on how to actually manage that in a thoughtful approach is most advanced. And we're therefore also very grateful that we are working with the NTU in the university in Singapore, and that they are also providing access to some of the experts there. There are also a few more banks supporting efforts in this area. There's the Norwegian DNB Bank from Oslo, and the Danish Spar Nord will also support the efforts in the credit and lending team. So an extremely important and an exciting area to look at. So thank you, Jordan, for opening that up. So let's move on to climate. Alan, are you also with us on the call?
Yes, I'm here in London, kind of cold London. Real pleasure to be here, everyone. My name is Alan Smith. I'm Senior Advisor, Climate and ESG Risk Management at HSBC. I've actually been here most probably longer than a lot of you guys have been alive. I've worked for them for 26 years. And right now, and HSBC, by way of background, is one of the world's largest financial institutions, and it's about 70 countries, about 200,000 people. And for me, it's a real privilege to be able to be working with you and to be advisor on this climate change work stream. Because if we stand back and look at it, climate change and the transformation to the digital economy represent two of the most powerful forces that are out there today. Powerful forces that are going to be shaping our world and our futures for years to come. In particular, climate change and the challenge that we have around that, about how we take all of our collective actions to ensure that we keep that average temperature rises to below 1.5 degrees C by 2050, represents the ultimate opportunity and the ultimate challenge. It is also the ultimate big data area where digital technologies, digital solutions will be key to that. Yet in doing that, it's going to raise lots of dilemmas, lots of trade-offs that the whole process of getting there is going to involve, you know, trade-offs between generations, between communities, between developed and developing worlds. And it is going to be the ultimate dilemma, and it's going to take some of the brightest, most diverse, most engaged, and I think most importantly, those minds who care about coming up with that solution. And that's what I believe all of you guys are. And so it's a real pleasure to be, you know, the advisor on this program, and I'm really looking forward to doing that with you over the coming months. Thank you very much.
So are we, and thank you so much for taking lead on this and for bringing your insight to it. With the team is also IBM and Santander in Poland, supporting the efforts in this area. So and thank you to you all. And really looking forward to seeing also how we unfold the dilemmas that we face within this area. And so I'm turning to you now, Jakob, Nykredit in Denmark for the customer management area. Are you also still on the call?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Really happy to be here. I'll just start out with a short introduction to the company I work in, Nykredit. So just share a screen. Here we go. So Nykredit is based here in Denmark. So this is an image from Copenhagen. And the hour is 5:20 here in Denmark. I'm at home, as I expect most of you are as well, due to Corona, of course. I want to take you a little bit through what Nykredit is, just to motivate what we'll be spending time on. The company goes back more than 200 years since when there was a big fire in Copenhagen. And for rebuilding Copenhagen, the first mortgage associations were created. They became the building block of what has been a very successful covered bond market that it's expanded over many years. There's never been a single loss for investors, and due to that, we have a AAA. Partly due to that, we have a AAA rated system in place today. Now, over the years and over some consolidation areas and also deregulation, what is now Nykredit has emerged into a full service company, still supporting only a local Danish marketplace, mostly at least. But we are now the biggest lender in Denmark. We are the biggest lender also as part of a strong distribution network we have with 50 different partnership banks around Denmark. So even though we are the biggest lender in total, I want you to consider Nykredit as being a small bank in this scene. And you can actually see Nykredit, we ourselves are selling this particular mortgage financing product. We're actually selling this as our Spar Nord, who's also on the call, and as you see, as one of our partner banks up here. So the reason why I'm telling you this is also that as a bank, while we have a strong foundation in a relationship built business model, we really strongly believe that the trust it provides will be a necessity also going forward. And it will be a people business still. Of course, we are seeing major developments taking place in how a data-driven or augmented advisor should work. We are seeing channels where we are impressed what we can see from chatbot, from robo-advising, and we are seeing new players. Of course, who we expect to be the competition going forward. How do we, as a smaller player, engage with this? What are the ethical dilemmas in making use of the data that's required to support it? And that's some of what we would like to spend time on with some of you great guys. We've as a smaller player has dipped our toes in the area of advanced analytics, and have had a number of good initiatives in this. But of course, for us, as in many other banks and financial institutions, it's also about balancing what are we to do internally, what are we to do in sharing with perhaps some of our partner banks, what are we to do with partnerships, etc. And at the same time, you guys know more than most, I think, that GDPR in Europe and related regulations around the world are continuously pushing what we also need to be able to take account for, and what we wanted to take account for in how we engage with our customers in providing transparent and robust solutions. So I'm really looking forward to engage with you on that. I've been working in our business intelligence and advanced analytics area for some years now. Recently moved to our banking business development, and I have a responsibility for our data efforts from a business perspective. I've been with Nykredit for 10 years, so I have some years background here at the company as well. And joining me whenever possible, we actually have two other great guys on the call. It's Torsten Terp, he's head of our digital innovation efforts, and Ulrik Have, he's part of our delivery in our IT. I also have a close colleague of mine, Christian Nyvang, who's also on the call, who's working in the area of data governance, and the efforts we are pushing in that area.
Thank you so much, Jakob, and thank you for bringing the entire team and knowledge to the table here. That's extremely important. So thank you for that. Supporting work in this area will also be people from Safari and RBC in Canada who've promised to open up their doors. So, as mentioned, we are working also with a number of universities and organizations globally. We won't have time to introduce all, but a few are on the call, and I just wanted you to meet some of those. You'll meet them again later in activities, and there'll also be resources and available. First of all, Arvind Gupta, who is the founder of Digital India. I know you have other meetings, but I hope we can manage to get introduced to you. Arvind, are you still on the call?
Soren, I'm very much on the call. If you can hear me,
we can.
So good. If you want, I can just quickly take the next 2 minutes and introduce what we do. And
thank you.
Folks, greetings from India. It's about 9 p.m. in the night tonight, and I represent multiple organizations, but primarily Digital India Foundation, which works on digital policy making, digital inclusion, data ethics, data governance, and many things else. Been a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, professor in data and digital economy personally, and have the unique experience of working in the government, making policies, and looking at from it outside, from an academic and research perspective. And so when Soren wanted a view from one of the world's largest democracy, where data plays a very important role, we absolutely agreed. We hope to bring this perspective of diversity, ethics, and from India, and our learnings from India, a country which has leapfrogged the fintech revolution, is doing cutting-edge work in a data economy, and has really embarked on a new journey on what I call public platforms as public infrastructure. So I think there are a lot of learnings from here, which we are happy to share and learn from others as we go along. So thank you for having us on the project, Soren, and happy to contribute.
Thank you for that. Thank you for joining, Arvin. We are extremely grateful for that. And as you point to, there's an enormous development going on that we look forward to learning for. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being part of the project. We look forward to seeing you again later and to discussing this further. And from Nairobi, Rosemary, are you on the call? And would you also just briefly introduce yourself and Strathmore University in Nairobi? We have a very strong team from Kenya and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Soren. My name is Rosemary Okello Lale. I'm from Nairobi, representing Strathmore University, which is a world-class chartered university based here in Kenya. And we offer quite a number of programs, including accountancy, business management, law, hospitality, as well as specializing in commerce and information. And the team here actually is a representative for all our departments, and it's a strong team led by Martin Bayer. And the reason why we feel we are honored to be part of it, Strathmore was one of the leading academia university in Africa to have actually introduced geospatial information and the use of data within the food security and also agribusiness in Africa. And it's been actually adapted within the 5 African countries. And we have data science as well as digital business intelligence and data management programs for various organizations within the region. So we look forward to partnering with everyone and to offer our expertise in areas where we specialize in, but more so to learn from every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. We are grateful for your time and for taking such an active part in the project. From Africa, we're also working with the Lagos Business School and WITS in South Africa, and companies include Safari in Kenya also. Christy, are you still? I know it's very late in Hong Kong, so I'm not quite sure if you're still with us.
Hi, Soren. Hi, I'm here.
Wonderful, thank you.
So hello from Hong Kong. My pleasure to be meeting everyone from around the world. I just want to start off by thanking Soren and his team at Stanford University for organizing this wonderful project and letting HKUST and our students be a part of it. I'm with the FinTech Research Project of HKUST Business School. HKUST is dedicated to promoting FinTech to not just its students, but also the public, and we're committed to nurturing the next generation of FinTech professionals. So through the FinTech Research Project, we research different FinTech topics covering basically anything related to FinTech, so blockchain, cybersecurity, robo-advising, AI, ML, just to name a few. We also develop new technologies. We build prototypes for financial institutions and FinTech companies. We do policy study, and we work closely with regulators and industry players to help facilitate the growth and healthy development of the Hong Kong FinTech ecosystem. If anyone is interested in learning more about our research or just to exchange insight, feel free to reach out. I will leave my email contact in the chat later. To the students, this is a very valuable and unique learning opportunity for you. So I hope you will get the most out of it in the next few months. I wish you every success and the most fruitful experience. And thank you again, Soren, for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy, and thank you for those insightful words, and not least for being up at this hour. We're grateful for that. So thank you very much for that. Thomas Krog Jensen is a good friend and the CEO of Copenhagen FinTech in Copenhagen. Logically, I forgot what time it actually is in Copenhagen, but I think it's not quite as bad as Hong Kong. Are you with us, Thomas? Probably not. So Copenhagen FinTech Hub is supporting work in obviously in the FinTech area, and has reached out and has become sort of an important Northern European player with strong collaborations in Singapore and elsewhere in the world, and will also be supporting the project as a partner. Then I will see if Antonella Fornino from the University of Pavia is also on the call. And if you would thank you, you are.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Soren. First of all, thanks for letting us participate in the project. I'm Antonella Forlino. I'm the Prorector for International Affairs at the University of Pavia. And Pavia is a mid-sized university in North Italy. It's quite early for us, 5:30, so it's fine. And Pavia has a long-standing tradition on business school, law school, medicine, all fields where actually big data are becoming more and more relevant. And so all the tools to analyze them is quite relevant for us, and especially for our students. So I feel it's a great opportunity for our students to be part of the project. And of course, I'm available to support them and to support all the other students. And I'm quite jealous. I would love to be a student right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining and sharing, and thank you for being a part of the project. We are really grateful and excited about that. So thank you. And there's a large group from your university and from Italy part of the project. Another good friend of collaboration partner is Michel Salov-Coste from the Université Catholique in Lille. Michel, are you part of the call now?
So,
wonderful.
Hello, bonjour. I am happy to be with you. I am in France, in Lille Catholic University, and I am very happy to participate to this amazing meeting, because I think really the data on the question of artificial intelligence applied to finance is very interesting ethical issues. And so perhaps I present a little myself. I am a future study person. I have been studying futures for 30 years now in different contexts. The research center of France, and later now I am in the Catholic University of Lille. Catholic University of Lille is one of the largest private universities in Europe, and it is also one of the largest Catholic universities in the world. We are a network of, we are actually the largest network of universities in the world, and we are very concerned by the future of the planet, the climate change issues. So, and of course, we have a very strong interest for information technology, artificial intelligence. I have made an interesting conference in China about artificial intelligence. So I will have perhaps the opportunity to present it. It is mostly about why artificial intelligence changes radically, completely all the world. And I think we are just at the beginning of a global civilization transformation. So all those issues are fascinating for me. And I am very happy to share information with you and to discover also what have to say each person in this very diverse conference. Thank you, Soren, very much.
Thank you so much for joining. We're extremely excited about what you bring to the table, and for the collaboration in the next half to a year that we all look forward to. And again, we are supported by many more people that you won't be able to meet today. The University of Chile. There's organizations in Argentina. There are also other universities in Europe. The Technische Universität in Munich, and we have a very strong group of people from there. And all of those will be unfolded through the coming months. I think one of the things that I can see from my notes that I actually forgot to mention was a little bit about the communication. We are presenting, we are making a web page which you are contributing to with names and so forth, just to present the project. And so if you haven't, please send a photo to Annie or reply to Annie's mail. And we'll be very active. Spencer Kover, also on the call, will drive our development of a podcast series, and so you'll all, you'll all be part of that, and we look forward also to getting that off. So, thank you to all the partners. Thank you for sharing a little bit of the perspectives for what we'll be working on. As promised, we wanted to give you a bit of inspiration and input also on the area that we're looking at. And so one of the people, I arrived in Silicon Valley in 2014, and one of the people who or the person who actually made me understand just a little bit of what is happening in the data economy and what drives the development that we are actually all looking at here is a very good friend, Shomit Ghosh from Onset Ventures. You've had all C-level positions. I think you're a classic Silicon Valley entrepreneur and have worked through numerous startups in the area and has worked as a venture capitalist for Onset in quite a few years. And you also lecture at Berkeley, and I'm realizing at more and more Danish universities also as a part of your work. So who better than you, Shomit, to share some insights into what is actually the data economy. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for being a part of the project.
Thanks so much for the kind introduction, Søren. Let me see if I can share my slides, and then I'll get started with the introduction here. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. Get a head nod. Søren, yep, okay, great, yeah. So thanks so much for the kind introduction. As Søren mentioned, I'm a VC here in Silicon Valley. Done that for a long time. Before that was a startup entrepreneur for a long time. And as Søren mentioned, data is a dual-edged sword. It's a dual-edged sword. It's the #1 weapon that a company can wield to disrupt. And so I have this picture here of the shark coming up underneath the unsuspecting swimmer, who might be a legacy business, basically. So data is coming up to disrupt the swimmer. Similarly, data ethics actually is also a threat. So data is a dual-edged sword in that it can help deliver service and equity. It's also can be very damaging to people's human rights. And I think Jordan touched on this when he was speaking. I think Alan as well. And this is a really important consideration. And my work as a Silicon Valley VC, I see lots of disruptive data-driven projects coming up, but constantly I have to think about what are the ethics of the business that's being proposed. So with that, let's get started. So the future of fintech, there are two factors. Number one is ethics. Without ethics, we have no business in any business. And the number two thing we're going to talk about here is multidimensional data and what that means. And multidimensional data helps yield both opportunity and threat. And of course, this guy's holding up 3 fingers because there is no third factor. The future of fintech is really tied up in these 2 things, multidimensional data and ethics. One helps define the other. So consider these 2 friends who are talking. Your friend says to you, I'd like to introduce you to, I don't know, Søren, Shomit, whoever. He's brilliant, he's handsome, he's funny, he's rich, but he has no ethics. Who among us would take this meeting? None of us, right? Because ethics is our most fundamental human need. And this is true in business. Even for, if you think about, I don't know, if you think about bank robbers, if you had a team of bank robbers, Søren and Shomit, even though we may be unethical in that we're robbing a bank, even so, we need to have an ethical understanding between us. Otherwise, we run out into the parking lot holding our bag of loot, and Søren shoots Shomit in the back, grabs the money, and takes off. So even in bank robbery, I need to be able to trust my fellow bank robber. Ethics is the most fundamental human need. And this applies doubly, triply in business. Today, what do we see in banking and financial services? What we're seeing is the attack for multidimensional data. So the bank CEO is pulling her hair here because she looks around and she sees everybody's getting into banking. Apple, Walmart, Google, Facebook, you name it. Everyone's getting into banking. And the reason that they're able to get into banking is not because they have, $100 billion on deposit. It's because they have probably 100 billion data points. And it's the data that's helping them disrupt banking. So the threat to the traditional bank isn't from other banks. The threat to the traditional bank is coming from those companies who hold multidimensional data, in fact, hyperdimensional data. So the biggest threat to any traditional bank today is not the other large traditional bank, it's the people who have lots and lots of data. And this is where business opportunity comes. You can now disrupt a large existing industry such as financial services using data, using hyperdimensional data. But this also brings, as we've been talking about, this brings a lot of ethical threat. And as we just discovered and defined, ethics is the most important component of any business. So the mode of attack into the financial services business is if you own the data, you'll own the dollars. The reason why these large data players are able to get into the financial services business is, again, not because they have lots of money, but because they have lots of data. And it's the presence of the data that allows them to compete. Even if you look at the headline there in the top left-hand side, look at this, Starbucks, who we think of as being a very successful purveyor of coffee drinks. Starbucks has more money on deposit than many banks have in deposits. And they have that because they have a data signature, as we'll talk about here. So let's re-envision the future of fintech as being something that's driven by data. And e-transactions are not the future, by the way. A lot of traditional financial institutions think that being data-driven means being able to enable things like e-transactions. This is not how Amazon and Google are going to disrupt banking. They're going to disrupt banking by having more data and using that to predict the future. That's the future of financial services and banking, is being able to use data signatures to predict the future. E-transactions are just that. It's a transaction. Big deal. Transactions have been done ever since commerce has existed for thousands of years. And relegating that to the online field isn't much of an advance. So when we talk about multidimensional data, what does that mean? Low dimensional data is what financial institutions use today. So you might think about FICO scores, the amount of your assets, what your income is, the size of the loan. This is low dimensional data. Many people think that if you have low dimensional data and it goes back 200 years, you have big data. Actually, you don't. Think about it. You might have 4 dimensions of data that go back 200 years, and the competitor that has 4,000 dimensions of data that go back 2 years is going to destroy you. So big data doesn't mean having a lot of deep data, but only low dimensionality. Big data means having very, very high dimensionality. 1,000 pieces of data, 5,000 pieces of data, 10,000 pieces of data on each loan applicant, for example. So multidimensional data is also known as alternative data. There's been some publications here in the US from the FDIC and the Federal Reserve Bank, and they have termed this as being alternative data. But multidimensional data is everything that's not the traditional 3 or 4 low-dimensional measures of financial worthiness. And what the companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and all of these fintechs, hundreds of fintechs that we see that are disrupting financial services, what they all traffic in is very highly dimensional data sources. And we'll talk about what some of those data sources are, but here is the opportunity for financial services is wielding multidimensional data as a competitive weapon. Here too, as was also, as Søren described and Choiki and Jordan and Alan all touched on, this is also where the ethical threat lies. If you have too much data, this is where the data can start to become too intrusive, and intrusiveness on privacy is a violation of a human right. Here's an example. Here's a patent from Facebook, and you can read the text on the patent from the patent that's there on the right-hand side. You can read that when you get a chance. But essentially, what has been discovered is that, and patented by Facebook, is that we may not have a credit score on Shomit, but if we have a credit score on Shomit's friends, that's a pretty good measure of what Shomit's credit risk might be. So basically, it's been found that my loan risk relates to the loan risk of my social network. And this might be a very insightful patent, but this is where a question of ethics might come into play and the kinds of things that all of you want to think about. So think about this. Here in the US, for example, it's part of the rights that are granted to us as citizens is that you can freely associate with anybody. Meaning you can have anybody for a friend that you choose, and it's your right to have that. And you think about what happens when you figure out that, well, the friends that I choose actually will influence whether or not I get a loan or what the loan interest rate might be. I'm not going to be friends with Søren any longer. I'm going to stop being friends with Jakob and Alan too, because I don't think those guys are good loan risks. I like them really as good friends, but they might be driving down my loan score, my credit score. So I'm going to stop associating with them. So essentially what's happened is that my freedom to associate with whomever I choose is now being defined by the knowledge that, some financial institution might be grading me based on my friendships. So think about that and the ethical implications of something like that. And this is, again, multidimensional data at work. It can be used to, again, for business advantage, as you can see. It can also be used to perhaps infringe on some of the rights that you might otherwise enjoy. So what are the ethics of something like that? And I think that's part of the discussion here that Søren really needs to lead with all of you. Multidimensional data, you can predict all kinds of things from multidimensional data. There's a really interesting paper here from Bertrand and Kamenika, which was just a couple of years ago. Highly recommend, but here are some of the things that it highlighted. So here we see some multidimensional data attributes. So take a look at what's defined here in the left-hand column and the right-hand column. On the left-hand side, you'll see if this person uses dishwasher detergent, voted in the election, watches Netflix, uses a certain wireless cell phone carrier here, has a passport. On the right-hand side, watch the Super Bowl, owns an iPhone. If you look at these attributes that might define any one of us and think, okay, what does this tell us about somebody? And you might think it really doesn't tell us that much, maybe, but because of big data, because of the multidimensionality of data, because of statistical correlation, it actually ends up telling us quite a bit. The attributes on the left-hand side actually define someone who's of high income. The attributes on the right-hand side show someone who has high education. So on the financial services side, this individual might be a great loan risk. So you use multidimensional data for a business advantage. You can now grade Søren's loan risk better than a traditional bank who might just be looking at his FICO score. And here's a great opportunity for driving business. And this is the kind of multidimensional data correlation that a fintech might do. And this is essentially what it's showing is that all data is banking data. So things which you may think may not be related to someone's loan risk. For example, do they watch Netflix? Do they vote in the election? This is actually telling you something about their loan worthiness. Great business advantage, right? Downside, you can look at this. So here are a couple of attributes. On the left-hand side, owns glass ovenware or bakeware, owns a pet. On the right-hand side, does not own a fishing rod, does not own a Chevrolet product. Once again, you look at this and you think, what does this tell us about somebody? Not a lot, right? No, I can't tell what this might tell me about someone. But once again, because of big data, because of correlation, because of machine learning, statistically, you can actually define someone's ethnicity and their political leaning. And you can use that for political targeting. And what is the ethical implication of using this multidimensional data to figure out things about somebody like their ethnicity? And here's where the ethical dilemma starts to rise up. And here, and I think Jordan touched on this when he was talking about the work that DBS is doing, what are the ethics of actually finding out things about people's privacy from data signals that they may not have known were actually betraying something about them? Here's an ethical question. And for a financial services institution, of course, a very simple business model here, as I'm stating. You have a financial institution, it gets money from depositors, which it lends out to borrowers. The borrowers pay an interest rate back. The depositors get an interest back for having put their money in. And everything that's left over is the bank's profits, the financial institution's profits, right? This is a super simplified model of how a financial institution works. But what this shows is that everything is about the borrower risk. If you can correctly gauge borrower risk, you will have a successful business. If you cannot, you will not. How do you gauge the borrower risk? How do you actually gauge the borrower's integrity? This is what financial institutions are trying to discover. In the old days, we used low-dimensional data. We've been talking about the credit score, your FICO score, the amount of your assets, what's your income. And we may mistakenly think that if we have these 3 dimensions of data, that we have big data because we've got 100 years worth of data about this, but still 100 years of low-dimensional data is still low-dimensional data. It's not really competitively advantageous. It limits scalability because, of course, only the people with these 3 defined attributes can have access to the financial assets. So, in fact, what you're seeing here is that borrowing equity, I mean, the equity of access is limited if you only look at these 3 measures. I think, again, Jordan mentioned this, but if you only look at someone's credit score, and that credit score may require that somebody have a fixed address, and many people don't have a fixed address, is that an equitable way to gauge someone's loan risk? Because someone may be a great loan risk. They may not have access to these traditional measures, and that should not deprive them of the ability to access credit. So what we're seeing today and tomorrow is highly dimensional data, where all data is credit data. We can figure out someone's integrity not by looking at a limited set of attributes. We can look at many, many different attributes, highly dimensional data. And we can do this in real time. And it's completely scalable because these are dimensions that all of us may possess. There may be signals about us that tell that we're a high integrity borrower, which merits a low interest rate, despite the fact that you don't have these traditional measures, the credit scores, the assets, the income, that might help someone determine that we have the ability to repay the loan. So there's a real social equity aspect to this because it now democratizes the access to capital, because we're looking at things which are not, not those traditional measures, and allows us to bring financial products to people who might not otherwise qualify, but they certainly deserve. So traditionally what banks have done is that the goal of any bank is to own all the dollars in the world. So, we had speakers from a few different banks here and financial institutions, AXA, Generali, and DBS, HSBC, etc. And the goal of all these financial institutions is we want to bank all the dollars in the world. And the way we do this is by predicting risk, because if we can predict borrower risk well, as we talked about a couple of slides ago, then we can offer really highly compared products, which means high interest rates and deposits and low interest rates on loans. So this is how a traditional bank might approach the business using low dimensional data. The disruption is coming from companies such as Amazon and Google and all the fintechs that you're familiar with. And they too want to bank 100% of the world's dollars, but they're going to do so by banking all of the world's data first. Because if you can bank all of the world's data and have the world's very best predictions using hyperdimensional data, then certainly you can figure out the right products and the right prices for those products. So what should the right deposit interest rate be? What should the right loan interest rate be using hyperdimensional data? Very, very high dimensions of data, 5,000, 10,000 dimensions perhaps for each borrower. And this is the approach that the disruptive players are taking in the financial services business. Everything is a data signal for financial services. And we've seen some examples already. Here's one example, eponymity. So it turns out that this has been shown in the academic literature quite a bit, but get this. If your email address is the same as your actual name, that actually correlates to loan risk. So if Soren's email address is soren.jorensen@gmail.com, that means he's actually a pretty good loan risk. Whereas if his email address is sushilover43@gmail.com, it's actually, he's not such a good loan risk. So even your email address is a data signal. And these are some of the multidimensional data signals that the savvy big data players and the fintechs are using. They look at your email address. This is part of your credit score. Your cell phone battery strength will also tell us whether you're a good loan risk. If your cell phone is well charged when you apply for the online loan, that shows that you have an ability to plan ahead versus if your cell phone only has, 8% of battery strength left. The charging patterns, if you charge your cell phone overnight so you can draw it down during the day, that once again shows that you can plan ahead versus if you wake up in the morning at, with 12% charge, you charge it madly while you're shaving, go off to work and draw it down again and recharge it again, draw it down again. And if you're doing it sporadically like that, once again, you're giving a signal about whether you're able to plan ahead. So even something like the cell phone battery charge and how you charge it has been shown to correlate with loan risk. And if you look at attributes such as this, you can see that these kinds of attributes scale. Everyone might have exactly these sorts of attributes. It doesn't require that you have that traditional FICO score. So you could be somebody who's been outside of the traditional orbit of financial services and still have all these attributes. The timestamp of when you applied for a loan also correlates to loan worthiness. How responsive are the people in your contact list to when you call them or message them? And essentially what this is doing is it's crowdsourcing your integrity from the people in your social network. So if I call Søren and he always sends my call to voicemail, or he waits a week before he replies to my text message, what this is saying is that the people in my network don't actually think that highly of me. So I might have low integrity. Errors in how you fill out the web forms, spelling errors actually also correlate to loan risk. The typing speed, how quickly you type in your cell phone when you apply for the loan, this correlates to loan risk. You can see that this is both a nice multidimensional measure for grading your loan risk, but it might also be unethical because what if you're older or you have a physical disability and as a consequence you type more slowly, but you end up actually getting discriminated against it because you don't type quickly enough. All of these, of course, are scalable across the population, and some, maybe all of these even have ethical ramifications. These are the things to think about. And how many dimensions are we talking about? Lots and lots and lots. So if you're familiar with the US fintech Prosper, they look at 500 dimensions for each consumer when they dispense their financial products. This company in China, they look at 1,200 dimensions, and even these guys aren't the champions of the number of dimensions. Jumo data in South Africa looks at 10,000 different dimensions. Stunning, right? So imagine trying to compete as a traditional financial institution looking at 3 or 4 data points against one of these organizations who might be looking at 10,000. And the dimensions that these companies look at are largely proprietary. They don't publish it. So the only ones that are known and publicized are the ones that have also been discovered and published by academic research. So here's an example of multidimensional potentially in action. Look at this. If you look at the headline of this paper, it turns out that people who swear a lot are more honest. Who knew? But okay. So if you think about companies like Google and Amazon who have these, or Apple who have these smart speakers in your house or in your car, and all of them have aspirations in the banking sector, and all of them might be able to tell that you swear a lot. Guess what? They now have a signal about your honesty. Multidimensional data in action. So this all sounds pretty cool. We should all be practitioners of multidimensional data and outcompete the traditional banks and financial institutions that are out there. What could possibly go wrong? And this is where ethics comes in. This is how you have to try and keep from being the guy at the end of the pole here and getting eaten by the shark. There are many threats in machine learning and big data. I think Jakob talked about some of this when he was introducing himself. There are many threats, not least of which is the training data that can skew the results that are driven. And this is an endless topic nowadays. I think Alessandro was talking about some of this, and his group is doing some of this work as well. And here's some papers that you might actually take a look at. The one across the top was done by UC Berkeley. And this is, all these papers highlight multidimensional data delivering actually unethical results. No doubt by accident, but by accident still causes harm. Doesn't matter if something was by accident or by purpose. If you're the one who's harmed, you still end up being harmed. So the paper across the top showed that they'd found that there's a correlation between loan worthiness and where someone went to high school, which might sound like a really insightful multidimensional data signal until you think that, well, here in the US, high schools are actually pretty segregated. So this becomes actually a proxy for discrimination and redlining. And one that might not be, readily leap out to you, because if this is done through machine learning and big data, you actually might not see what this correlation was. So the explainability requires that you be able to pull this apart and see what really happened. The paper in the middle, which is about Facebook, is also the table you see in the center. And this shows about how job ads were showed in skewed fashion, both across ethnicity and gender. Again, this could be completely by accident, but even by accident, it still has negative effects on all of us as the end customers. These are the kinds of things we need to be aware of. Article at the bottom left there, Amazon, which is one of the the true behemoths and experts in big data, machine learning, AI, even they ended up producing faulty results for resume screening for job applications. So even big companies who know this really well can fall victim by accident, and we need to be aware of all of these as threats, ethical threats to business. In fintech, I'll recommend that people take a look at the Student Borrower Protection Center report there on the right-hand side. The excerpted text on the bottom right-hand side talks about how you can actually have this inadvertent redlining if you only rely on data. These are the things that we always need to be aware of. Paper on the left-hand side I thought was just interesting, because even from things like your facial clues, you can start to extract things about social class. And, yes, that might be a kind of an interesting multidimensional data signal, but what are the limits of the multidimensional data signals we apply to this or any other business? And if you're competing with the big players in big data today, it turns out that ethics might be a really great differentiator on which to compete, because if you look at what's happened here, and you can see the headlines, Amazon, Google, Facebook, all of these companies have run afoul of federal regulation when it comes to privacy, consumer privacy. So as a new entrant into the business, as a startup or an existing bank that's trying to remain relevant in financial services, ethics is a great differentiator on which to pin your business. So in wrapping up, data ethics is a really, really difficult topic because I think that it can't be solved through mere policy alone. So what I put forward here is the guilty teenager operating model. And both Soren and I have had teenagers, so maybe we can both relate to this. But if the parent every day walks into the teenager's room and says, "So, when were you going to tell me the bad news?" What happens to the teenager, right? Immediately, the teenager thinks, "Oh my gosh, she found my pot. Oh my gosh, she found my horrible report card." Or, "Oh my gosh, she found the dent in the car," right? And if you ask this question of your teenager every day, hopefully you keep him or her on the straight and narrow and have them grow up to be happy, successful adults. Similarly, here's you, the CEO. Every day you walk into the VP of Engineering's office, and every day you ask this question: "So, when were you going to tell me about the data ethics violation?" Mind you, she doesn't know if such a data ethics violation has occurred, but simply by asking this question, it forces the VP of Engineering to scrutinize what he or she might be doing. So running through his or her mind is, "Oh my gosh, did I have some skewed training data? I should look at the training data that we're using on our machine learning models." Or, "Oh my gosh, I have a buggy algorithm. We have to get back and do some more QA on the buggy algorithm because clearly the CEO knows that we've done something wrong." And the VP of Engineering's mind is running rampant going through these topics. We need to do things like this. I think it never will come the day when ethics is completely solved by policy. Always we'll have to wake up in the mornings, be paranoid, assume that we're doing something wrong. And by having that kind of paranoid assumption that we're doing something wrong, that's what will help keep us on the straight and narrow and deliver ethical products back to our consumers. With that, thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Shomit. extremely to the point and extremely inspirational in relation to our work. So thank you very, very much for sharing. We have just a few minutes for questions. Martin, you had a comment about dimensionality. If you care to elaborate, we have time for that. Or if we have other questions, we can just manage that.
Sure. Thank you, Soren, and thank you for that excellent presentation, Shomit. There's this question of the formal versus informal economy. So a lot of our discussions today, I think, have focused on the formal economy where data is available. Yet a lot of insights exist in the informal economy. I've given an example of Safaricom, one of the entities represented here, a product that they identified that enabled them to access the informal economy and make a lot of money. What are your thoughts as we think of AI and that part of the economy in many developing countries throughout this project and even in the presentations you've made? Thank you.
Yeah, a really good question, Martin. I think AI and data specifically are just like every other invention that mankind has ever had, whether it was fire or the stick or the rock. It can be used for two purposes. It can be used to help us, or it can be used to hurt us. And we have to bear that in mind, because I think here, particularly if we look at things like the informal economy, we can bring so much benefit by bringing equity to people who may not otherwise have had access to whatever it might be, whether it's financial services or healthcare. Tremendous opportunity there. I think the risk that we run into is that there are so many insights about what's intimate about us that are extractable from data. And even the craziest things will tell people about us that we don't know. So there's been a recent work done by Michael Kaczynski at Stanford. A couple of years ago, he showed that you could actually determine someone's sexual orientation using a photo image. So this year, he came out with research that showed you can actually determine someone's political leaning also from that photo image. So these are the sorts of things which, when you think about the multidimensionality of just our photos, we may think, oh, it's just a picture of what I look like. Well, no, actually, it might tell people about a lot of things about ourselves, which we may not want other people to know. So as a business, I think we need to really focus on being able to provide equity and then being very transparent that we will never do things that intrude on people's privacy. And privacy are the same sorts of questions that you would never ask anybody in a nice social discussion. I wouldn't ask Soren, hey Soren, tell me about your health problems. Soren, tell me, are you and your wife having a fight? Tell me about it. Your kids have a drug issue? Those kinds of questions I would never ask. And as businesses, we should never, ever, ever be trying to figure out things like that about people's data signatures. And I think the reason why we've had some of these larger companies fall afoul of those sorts of guidelines and guardrails is because, hey, data is data, machine learning is machine learning. Let's figure out everything that we can. Just because we can do something does not mean that we should. So we really have to bear that in mind each and every day. And it really goes back to that, my concluding slide there with the guilty teenager model, is we always have to assume that we're the guilty teenager. What are we doing wrong? And also assume that we're the parent and figure out what our coworkers might also be doing wrong. And it's only through that kind of scrutiny and vigilance that we'll do the right things.
Thank you so much, Shomit. So I think looking at the comments in the chat, I can see that you all agree and understand what I mean when I say that Shomit actually made me understand just a little bit the data economy and what drives business and data. So thank you so much for sharing. And there's a very high demand for your presentation. I'm grateful that you're part of the project and that we'll get a chance to meet you again and talk to you again through the work here the coming months. So thank you very much for sharing your insights here. I'm really grateful for that. We'll proceed with a presentation by Swapna Malika, and I hope you're on the call, Swapna.
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
We can. So while you get ready, I'll just very briefly introduce you. I came across a piece you wrote on Medium a few years back, which was definitely part of sort of shaping my thoughts around this area. You're also an engineer by background and have worked in various positions in Accenture and a lot of various startup companies on products and product lead. You're currently a product lead at RBC on cards and cash management. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing some of your thoughts on the ethics of using AI in fintech. It's all yours.
Awesome, thanks. And it's a hard job to follow after Shomit's presentation. It was amazing. I think a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about would resonate with what Shomit talked about as well. So if there's some redundancy and duplication, feel free to ignore that or answer or ask me any questions later on. So as we know, we have a lot of data in our world today. We keep on hearing AI and machine learning as two of the buzzwords in technology, in finance, and a lot of other industries. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the ethics of using AI in fintech, in the financial services industry, in banking industry, because I'm part of a bank. I understand the day-to-day workings of first of all, how much data that flows into the system, and then the struggles of providing value for that information to our users, to our end customers, and our end clients. So starting off with just the applications of AI, data and AI in fintech. Again, Shomit has talked about it, so I'm not going to dwell a lot into each of the applications, but at a very high level, from my perspective, ML and AI can be used for 3 or 4 things, and maybe even more. But automation, analysis, detection, and forecasting / prediction would be the core building blocks of the applications of AI, at least in fintech. Right. In the automation side, again, it's nothing but using ML algorithms to help with the redundant or the repeatable tasks that humans have to perform on a day-to-day basis, whether that's generating expenditure reports, filing a financial report, data entry, so on and so forth. Right. And automation works very well in fintech because you have to answer customer queries. The questions are almost the same pretty much. You have to conduct a whole lot of laborious tasks across different functions in the organization. So automation works pretty well in fintech. The second one is analysis, and this is a little close to me because I've worked on a recommendation system in the past. As the name suggests, analysis helps you to collate all that humongous data sets, data points, convert them in a machine readable format or in a normalized format, and analyze those millions and billions of data points to generate those actionable insights, right? So if you think about personalized recommendations, if you walk into a branch and you are talking with your financial advisor or your financial planner, you have a few goals in your life. You want to retire at the age of 60, 65, 45, and AI and analysis would be able to provide you those contextualized, deeper insights and help in order for you to reach that goal, right? And then this data is also a combination of personal data, financial data, demographical data, behavioral data. And that's why it can, as Shomit was saying, it helps us, the lenders of the banks, to accurately assess the credit worthiness of the client and to make better credit underwriting decisions as well. Third one is detection. Again, as the name suggests, AI can be used to understand the patterns and the trajectories that are hidden in the large data sets. So one of the most primary examples is fraud detection and regulatory compliance, right? So data can be analyzed to understand and match patterns to detect any fraudulent activity, anomalies in the transactions, or even detect incidents of anti-money laundering. Fourth one is prediction forecasting. It helps, so AI can help us to predict or forecast future losses and future profits, even identify new investment opportunities, or to identify which segments of clients are the most likely or the least likely to default on a loan, for example. So since this is out of the way, let's get into the challenges of using AI in fintech, right? And again, a lot of these challenges you might know at the back of your mind, but just repeating them here, there is obviously we need to create this right balance between customer value and data privacy. Because banks, from a financial standpoint, we are supposed to be the custodians of people's data, of people's money, or of people's financial data. But lately, banks are also turning out to be the custodians of people's digital identities, right? Of people's personal data. So how do we sort of balance that? How do we walk that line? How do we provide a tangible value to the customer, but at the same time collect that data and preserve that data that the customers have handed over to us? Second one is adoption of AI, the misconceptions, overvalued expectations, right? So everyone in the organization, executives included, they are always very excited about using AI in their company, but few understand the use cases, the challenges behind using AI, right? There are a lot of misconceptions and expectations because AI is thought to be a technology that will completely revolutionize the way we do business. We think that the insights will become are more accurate, that we would get more traction and engagement with our customers. And this might be correct, right? All this is amazing, and it's hopefully we will achieve it. But AI won't give you those immediate results or even accurate results. Right? At least in the short term. If the problem you're trying to solve doesn't have a product market fit, if it doesn't, if you're not trying to, if you're not differentiating yourself enough, even if you apply AI to it, you're not going to succeed. So just the expectations are sky high around AI. Then the whole issue of liability, ownership, accountability. Now, ideally, the parties who have produced the algorithms or the machine learning algorithm, the AI algorithm, should take the responsibility of all the decisions that are coming out of that algorithm. But it's a gray area today, right? So if AI is providing certain kinds of results, who is accountable for them? Who takes the ownership? If the algorithm says that this person is not eligible for government benefits, we try to provide some kind of explanation around why this is the case. But at the same time, we don't take that complete accountability of the factor that, yes, we are behind this decision as well. We are behind this AI algorithm as well. Then there's the whole issue of bias, fairness, equal treatment of all participants, of all the audience and of all the customers that you're serving. So most of these biases derive either from the lack of representation or the lack of minority representation in the data set, or when human judgment and bias are encoded into the data set itself or the training data itself, right? So this bias in data, then it propagates into the algorithms, algorithms of AI algorithms as well, because most likely than not, data scientists and researchers also have some kind of bias. We are all humans, right? So how do we create unbiased data sets, first of all, and then how do we sort of have unbiased results and unbiased recommendations from those algorithms? Transparency. Right now, companies and organizations, they do not allow the public scrutiny of their AI algorithms, right? Due to proprietary reasons, legal reasons. So if our AI algorithms are not transparent, how will we garner that traction and trust from our consumers? How will we eliminate those unjustified fears? So transparency is key, but it is not done at a very great level as of today. Workforce impact. Now, since AI is automating a lot of routine tasks and performing them in an efficient manner, in a reliable manner, the roles and responsibilities in the workplace are completely changing. They're transforming, but we need to keep a lookout for what kind of roles are getting impacted, and do we have an action plan or an alternative plan of action to upskill such employees or to provide them better training and education to put them in other high impact roles. And then accuracy, data quality, one source of truth. I've seen this in the bank and especially in a large bank, because we have different systems, different data coming in from multiple different sources. The single source of truth is not, we can't achieve that one single source of truth. And that's why there are redundant profiles of a single customer. The data quality is not that great. And that is why accuracy is also a myth in a way. You know, the results in AI always have a caveat. They always have a min-max threshold. They also need to be vetted by a human expert, which is good. But at the same time, the expectation of AI results to be accurate, it's not exactly correct. And then explainability, interpretability, right? AI is a black box, as we've seen. The fact that there is no explanation given when the algorithm provides you a negative, positive recommendation result. It's sort of disturbing for a banker's rational mind. Right now, I don't think we are able to explain clearly what the assumptions were made, what data was being used, what patterns were detected by the model, what was the reasoning behind a particular recommendation. So all these would help us to understand how machine learning models work, and they would allow us to trust the AI applications in return as well, right? But they are not done at a level where we can easily explain how a particular result was spewed out. So this is one of the biggest, I would say, issue in applying AI in our organizations today. And last but not the least, just the sensitiveness of sensitiveness of the data, right? So fintech industry is very unique. The scale of data and the sensitivity of that data is pretty high. We have to deal with investment data, your financial transaction data, your net worth, cash flow, assets, liabilities. So just processing, analyze that amount of information is an enormous effort, in addition to keeping your privacy and data security in check. So how do we create responsible, or how do we use AI in a responsible way, in an ethical way? From my perspective, there are three components that will eventually drive the ethical use of AI. First one being user control, right? So we need to provide control of the data to the users. Users need to have a lot of say around how their data is being used, where is it being used, what type of data can organizations use about them. Second one is data transparency, or just transparency in general. We need to be more transparent about how we are using that data. What kind of data are we using? So it's a give and take with the consumer. Where is the data being used? I think a lot of these factors should be taken into account when we provide those products and services to our customers. And then the user value, the tangible, explicit user value. Is there any customer value exchange, right? User data and its sharing has to be advantageous to the end consumer. That is it. When you create a product or a service, consumer is at the front and center. So how do you provide that value to the customer? But at the same time, you have to balance that line on how do you protect them? How do you protect their data and the trust that they have placed in your organization? So feel free to go through these, but I can maybe touch on a few of these points. One of the things that a lot of the companies today do is data anonymization and aggregation. So it's a very useful tool because it provides companies with the ability to accurately segment, track, and track the user groups, put the users into different cohorts, but it also minimizes the risk of infringing on data privacy of the individual clients. So, right, so we don't want to know who are you particularly, but we want to provide, we want to place you in a cohort of users so that we can provide you better customized strategies for that particular cohort or that particular user group. So anonymization and aggregation is a very good tool, very basic mode of preserving customers' privacy. And then just limiting the collection of personal data. If you're tapping into the client's financial data, social records data, we can create strategies for those users. But how can we also be more careful regarding what kind of information we collect and what do we use it for? So limiting the collection of personal information is important. So if you're trying to solve a particular use case, trying to solve a particular pain point, collect data only for that use case. Don't go beyond that. Don't just store the data because you think you might need it in the future. right? So limit the collection of personal data. And also that ties back to the exclusive usage for a specific purpose. As I was saying, if you're solving for a particular problem, use the data for that particular purpose, and then ask for users for consent before you can use the data for any other problem that you're trying to solve. And then human oversight, I would quickly jump to that. So AI technologies are definitely helping us with the sort of the black and white decisions, but our world is filled up with these gray decisions, right? At least in the near term, we will require humans front and center, a human co-pilot, if you can imagine that, who can course correct when the algorithm is what the algorithm is doing, and if the algorithm goes wrong or haywire, right? So there has to be some kind of human oversight. You can't just put all your sort of trust on data and on AI algorithms. And then bring your risk compliance, privacy, info security partners along the journey with you right from the start. It's very important. Even I would say bring your marketing, your other business stakeholders into the journey of creation of a product right from the start, because everyone has different perspectives. It will help you to create products that are more democratized in a way, and hopefully they don't have bias. And then similar to that, have a diversity of thoughts, diversity of genders, ethnicities in your workforce to help combat that bias, right, in your AI algorithms. And one point I would mention is just we always talk about frictionless user experiences, but in that case, the user doesn't really have the time to stop and think about what are they getting into, right? They don't have the bandwidth to go through those hundreds of pages of terms and conditions when they sign on to a new product or a solution. So bring some friction into the user experience, create friction in such a way that the consents and the terms and conditions, etc., they are digestible to the end user, so that they can read it very quickly, understand what they are getting into, and then accept and consent to use that product and service. And just sort of change the mindset about what AI is and what it isn't. Educate your stakeholders, whole workshops, whole trainings, where even the person from the marketing department or the legal department understands what AI can or cannot do, right? When you start a project, when you're narrowing down the problem statement, make sure you communicate which use cases are being solved by an AI algorithm, and which use cases might well be solved by some other technology or some statistical programming techniques. So just going forward, a lot of the things we've already covered. As I said, AI would need, or it needs, parental oversight. It needs, there are shades of gray. It should be decided by humans, at least for now, in the near term. Rollback or override, applications that use AI techniques should have some kind of rollback or override as part of their learning process, so that you can correctly course correct whenever required. And then governance has to evolve constantly. There are multiple, there's GDPR, there's PIPTA, there's CCPA in California. So figure out what, first of all, what regulation is happening in your own geography, but also figure out the governance in your own organization, right? Make sure that you arrange for accountability, for responsibility, ownership of the data and the algorithms. Rethink how the data is stored, rethink how you think about fairness and transparency. So governance is one of the key factors in when you start including AI in your product journey or in your business journey. And then, provide value and control to the user. So control always has to be a part of, or control always has to go towards the users, because they are the one who are providing you data, and data is the key, right? So provide that value to the end users, but also provide the control back to the end users. And then just be very transparent, make consents and privacy language crystal clear, make sure your users understand what they are getting into, and this obviously helps build trust back into your organization. It helps build customer loyalty as well. So I'm going to stop here and see if anyone has any questions before I go on.
You can push questions through the chat.
Yeah, I hope this presentation was helpful because I know a lot of the speakers before me have covered most of the insights. Yeah.
So it was, and thank you so much, Swapna. As mentioned, your Medium blog a few years back was definitely part of what inspired me here. So I've been, for the past year and a half, looking forward to hearing you expanding on these points. So I'm very grateful that we actually managed that. So thank you for your time and thank you for sharing. And to Kalyana, yeah, we'll try to make the presentation available as well here.
Thanks, Corinne.
Great. So there's a question actually from Marina. Do you want to expand, Marina? We just have time to do it.
I think the question is about explainability, right? I would say anything and everything that you know about your algorithm, you are coding the algorithm from scratch. You know the data that is going into the algorithm. So ideally, like in an ideal world, you have information about what you are putting out there, what goes into your product or a service. It's just that companies don't do a good job of making that information transparent to the stakeholders. So one of the things that can solve explainability in AI is to bring out all the assumptions that you are assuming about your product or a service, list down all the data points that you're using in your product or a service, and also like how you have structured the algorithm, right? So making all that information transparent will hopefully make the decision process more transparent. It will help the users understand why a particular decision has been made. I think a lot of organizations are trying to solve explainability explainability in AI, but I think it's definitely one of the hardest issues to solve. But putting forward all the assumptions right in front of the stakeholders helps for them to understand, okay, what has gone into the algorithm.
Thank you. And again, thank you so much for sharing, Swapna. I hope we may come back to you, disturb you later in the project. We are talking to and working also with RBC in general. So I look forward to hopefully doing that. Thank you for finally meeting you and hearing you expand on your thoughts on ethics of AI in the financial sector.
Awesome.
And you have all been provided food for thought and input on the work that we have ahead of us in the coming months. And as I said, we'll prepare more learning sessions or more inspiration sessions on various topics as we proceed, and we're of course also grateful for any sort of suggestions or comments or ideas that you may have for that. I'll push ahead because I want us to manage to get to the final agenda item, which is where you'll get a chance to introduce yourselves and talk and meet some of the people that you'll work with in the coming months. So again, thank you to all the speakers and thank you to all of us for being present. What we'll try now is to spread out into or break out into to breakout rooms and simply give you an opportunity to present yourselves and to get to know the people that you'll work with. We have about 20 minutes for it. In your breakout rooms, you'll meet the people. You'll meet the people that you'll work with who are also working in the teams that you're in, and you'll meet the advisors. Please be ready to introduce yourselves. to share a little bit about why you are here and why you find this relevant, and what you hope to get out of it, and what you look forward to in the project. And so we won't meet again in the plenum here, I think, today. I look forward to meeting you again and again and again in the coming months. You will receive a lot of information from us. You'll receive invitation to team meetings and to large group meetings and sessions such as the one we just had. And so again, what we hope that you'll do now, and what we expect from you, is that you will join the teams and develop your research plans and work on preparing the next steps in the actual teams. Any questions you may have, just shoot them to us, and we'll try to explain, and we'll continue the dialogue. So if there are no further questions here now, I'll say thank you for being so good participants in the talks today. A special thank to those who are sort of in the middle of the night. I'm grateful for your presence, and even more grateful for your presence. And I promise that we'll share the burden or distribute that burden as we go forward. You should receive now invitations to join breakout rooms. I hope that works. And you should also know which session you're actually in, because the breakout rooms correspond to the 5 teams that we're working in: insurance, climate, payments, credit, and customer operations. And now I'm just speaking to fill the gap. But I think it's happening. So thank you, and please, any feedback or reaction or suggestions you may have in follow-up to the meeting today, please don't hold back. Please send them to us, and we will make sure to share the presentations, as we'll share other relevant information as part of the project. I think you are joining Teams. That's great. Wonderful. You should be receiving an invitation to join a team.
Yes, and then some participants, it says that they're not using acceptable devices to be assigned.
Yep.
It doesn't support being
of course. Yeah, of course. Okay,
so
that's something we'll just need to
be in this main group.
I don't seem to have received an invitation, have I? This is John Sergon.
John. And we have a little.
I'm still lost.
Hi, Melanie. What group would you like to be added to?
I'm supposed to be in insurance.
Insurance? Okay, I'll add you right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm supposed to be in credit and lending. Can you hear me, Annie?
Yeah, credit and lending. Let me try. I think it says that your device doesn't support you to be in a breakout room. So I'm not sure. I don't think that I can add you to that room.
Hi, Annie.
Hi.
Is there something I need to do?
Oh, sorry.
Is there something I need to do?
Yeah, I think, John, I don't think that I can assign you to a group because it says that your device doesn't support breakout rooms for some reason. So I'm not
What
sure.
device am I supposed to have?
All it says is that your device does not support breakout rooms, so I'm not really sure exactly what is wrong. And if you're in the incorrect room, then I need you to come back to the main room so I can reassign you.
Should I log? You know, at some point I actually logged out and came. I mean, I was kicked out and then I came back. Maybe that explains. Where am I now? Soren.
I'll let Annie work and try to reassign you as that works. But in the meantime, as we are here and to make use of the time that we are here, let's let's make use of the time and start introducing. I'm sorry about that. Let's start introducing ourselves as we are here, and it may be that we can't join a group because our devices won't allow it. And so, if that is the case, let's make best use of the time while Annie tries to reallocate those that can be reallocated, and then we'll take it down as a learning for next time. So thank you for your time. Should we? I think I can see that. You know, we're a few people on the call here. Maybe John, you would present yourself, and I can see Alessandro. We can assign you to a team.
May I say one thing really quickly? Is it seems like the rest of the people who are in this main meeting, it all says that your device doesn't support being assigned to a room. So everyone that's in this main room will stay in this room because it is not allowing me to assign you to a room.
But that solves that, and we'll just need to we'll ask Microsoft how we and we'll hold them to blame and try to find out what does it. But then let's meet here, those of us who are stayed who are here. So can we do sort of a tour de table, just you know, a quick round of introductions and reflections on what we've shared the past hours and your sort of expectations for going forward. John, will you introduce yourself?
Thank you. First of all, I think Microsoft should know I am actually using Microsoft Windows. I don't know what else they need. Anyway, my name is John Sergon. I come from Kenya. In fact, I actually work from Strathmore University together with Rosemary and Martin. And so it's a pleasure. This is not the first time we've had this before. And so I'm very delighted to join the group again. I have been placed in this group of credit and lending. So I'm looking forward to working with these 15 or so members. My background is the ICT, mostly in the securities sector. I have worked in public service for most of my life, last 25 years or so, public service in Kenya, both in the security sectors and also the main ministry. But in all those areas, I was in charge of the ICT related work. And the last work I did before I left government was the CEO of ICT Authority, which is the premier organization dealing with ICT related issues. In fact, that's when the minister came. That was my minister who talked here at the beginning of this process. So I look forward. When I left government and I retired, I joined Strathmore University as a part-time faculty, and I'm actually studying. I had started my studies a long time ago, but I didn't finish. So I'm back to finish. So I'm in a PhD program on cybersecurity and national security, cyber threats and national security. So yeah, I am. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for being a part of the project, John. And we look forward to continuing the dialogue and the collaboration with you.
Thank you.
So who wants to step up next? Sarah, will you introduce yourself? Yeah.
Yes, of course. Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm from Italy, and I'm a psychologist. And at the moment, I'm enrolled in a PhD in neuroscience and data science. And I'm interested in behavior analysis and ethics. And at the beginning, I was a bit scared about these topics, about financial sector, etc. But I found very interesting topics so far. So I'm looking forward to join my group and work with them.
Yes, great, and we look forward to working. And I'm sorry about the technical glitch here. Again, we'll simply blame Microsoft.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a Macintosh user. I don't know if this can matter in the problem.
We'll find out and have that looked into. So I can see a few people here. Sairam, will you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. Sorry, even I was having issues with I wasn't getting that invite for the breakout room. Hi, I'm Sairam. You can call me Sai. I'm at Hitotsubashi ICS, a business school in Tokyo. I was really interested in joining this project because I've worked as a business analyst in the past, and it's always been very fascinating to me as to understand how we should be thinking a lot more kind of long term in terms of how we can use ethically some of the things that we're taking for granted nowadays. So I'm just really interested to learn a lot from all of you, and looking forward to working with you on this project. And again, thank you, Soren, for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to the next few months and learning along the way.
And thank you for joining. Jennifer, you just reappeared on my screen. Will you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Ndwati, currently a student at Strathmore University pursuing a master's in public policy management. I'm a lawyer by profession. I run a law firm that focuses on property and real estate. We also do quite a few financial transactions for banks and lenders. I'm also a consultant for the government of Kenya in respect of the affordable housing program, where we are looking to provide 500,000 affordable homes. This is what we are calling a Big Four agenda under the current administration. I'm glad to be here. I look forward to learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of this, and it's so great to meet you. So who do we have? Delphine? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Before introducing myself, can I ask something? Is that Credit and
Yes.
Lending's room? Yeah, because before moving this room, I just was in the climate room, so that was a mistake.
Oh, that was a glitch.
Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
for that. Sorry for
No,
that.
so
Yeah.
we are those who left out for
Oh, yeah.
technical reasons.
All right.
So
yeah.
yeah, and we are working
Yeah.
around it. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Delphine and I'm currently a PhD student in University of Pavia, and I'm working in PhD psychology and neuroscience. But apart from this, my expertise is related with the sport and exercise psychology, and I've just studied my master's degree in the United Kingdom, in North Wales specifically. I'm really glad to participate in this project because, I mean, this financial sector and digital leadership is closely related with the people's perception and the behavior, because as a psychologist that I would just say to you, we need to understand the people's behavior closely, and ethics, which is really important and key point on this project. And so I just think about that as a psychologist, I can make various contributions to detect the problems and dilemmas and so on. Yeah.
Wonderful. And great and so great to meet you, and looking forward to working with you.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
Siddharth Nandan, are you next?
Yeah, I also just I think I got into the wrong room, so it was credit lending, but it was a climate advisor.
Sure.
But cool. So I'll just give a short introduction. So my name is Siddharth, and I'm based in Berlin. And I'm currently a master's student, Master of Public Policy candidate at the Hertie School of Governance in Berlin. And currently I'm on a leave of absence as I'm working as a young professional with the German Development Corporation in Berlin on a project called Fair Forward, Artificial Intelligence for All. We are working in Africa and Asia. So we are basically kind of interacting with the same topic every day and working on creating national AI policies and data protection stuff like in Rwanda. And as for this project, as I'm currently preparing a small learning content for students in Africa, where we are actually also discussing about the biasness and also how they can interact with the policy area. So we took an example on credit lending actually from the case where Apple and Goldman Sachs were involved. So yeah, kind of that's quite overlapping with my interest and my work area. And as I go again into studies this year, so I can potentially see this as a master thesis topic. So this is a great time to be in this project. And yeah, I'm really happy and looking forward to interacting with many amazing people who are part of this group and beyond. So yeah.
Wonderful. So great to have you on the team. John, are you next?
Yes. Hello, guys. Really nice to meet you all. So I'm currently based in China, and my home school is Hong Kong, a University of Science and Technology. So I'm also in the team of lending. And I really like this topic because I just had a business project with a BNP company in Germany, and they would like to find some innovative way to grant loans to the unemployed people who were like excluded for loan due to their unemployment status. And the one thing I found really different is that although we talk about like multi-dimensional data before that can like predict people's repayment, like the BNP in Germany, they talk about like they can't use those data, mainly due to the data privacy. So I think maybe those things is also very different in different locations about like how people perceive their data. And very nice and glad to working with all of you all.
Well, we look very much forward to working with you. So and thanks for being here. Who did we? Katarina Brenner, are you here? Or Yamada? Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for having me. And I'm also in credit lending team, but I was wrongly assigned. So I talk by myself. And my name is Mantaro Yamada from Tokyo, Japan. My background is tech, so I have studied computer science and information engineering. I especially majored in AI, ML for computer vision or multimedia. But also I'm interested in the financial field, so it is the important element in our society today. So especially as for this project, I'm interested in the potential of the latest technology to democratize financial services, financial market, financial functions. So I mean, not only for wealthier people or highly educated people, but also everyone in our world, including the poor, the minority, should be benefited from the financial services. That's why I'm interested in the project to consider ethical issues, address them. Yeah, I look forward to dive deep and contribute to this field. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, Mantaro, and thank you for your very insightful comments. We look very much forward to working with you. So, Catherine, are you next?
Yes, sure. So my name is Catherine. I'm studying in Munich. I just handed in my master thesis in mathematics, so yay me. And my major is mathematics and I specialize in data analytics. And in my free time, I did lead a social entrepreneurship student initiative. So working towards the sustainability goals and doing something that advances society is something that's very important to me. And I was always looking for a way to bring together like my technical background with like my morals. And I think this project is perfect for that. So I'm very happy to be part of this journey and to contribute.
Wonderful, and we are grateful for your interest and for the fact that you are here. And congratulations, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
I lost a little bit sort of overview. Who did we miss? Who hasn't been introduced? Who are still on the call? We'd like to meet you. Diego, are you here?
Hi, Professor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diego Lissoni, and I am the coordinator of the Chilean student participating in this amazing project. I am a teaching assistant of civil law and public and administrative law at the University of Chile, School of Law. And I am also an intern at the Supreme Court of Chile at a project related to the use of AI in the court. I am recently working as a researcher at the law firm of Professor Magliona and Magliona Abogados. Professor Magliona is the team leader of the Chilean participants at this project. So he will be giving us his experience in methods related to personal data protection here in Chile, IP, e-commerce, and fintech especially.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking on those responsibilities. That's wonderful. So Judy, are you also here? Or Vidal? Who's on the call here that we missed? I think it could be Judy or Vidal, or is there anyone that I'm missing? If that's not the case, then it's about time we say thank you. I hope you that we've contributed a bit more to sort of clarity on the next steps, and that we've provided some inspiration and insights. I think also with these past 20 minutes, of course, we are sorry about the limits of technology that we met. That's just a learning as we go forward. But I think it has provided us with something that's important. That's getting a little bit introduced across and allowing us to meet each other, because we'll be working together very closely. And as mentioned, the next steps will be to try to make that concrete and make plans for how we work in the 5 teams as we go forward. So thank you so much for your participation today. Thank you for sharing, and I look forward to working with you all and to seeing you all again very soon in coming meetings. If anyone has a comment or a question or anything, shoot it. Otherwise, we are available on mail or to jump on a Zoom or a Microsoft Team or whatever.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Soren. It was very
you.
nice, very interesting. Take care.
I look forward to reconnecting.